Welcome back. This will be part 2 of the Forbes 21 under 21. This is going to be part 2. That will be the hitters. I'll start today. So we're going to have, I guess, 11 hitters on this list. I'm going to start today with the honorable mention here, Jon Sosa. This is actually not on the list. This is the number 1 honorable mention. Should be like number 22. I just want to mention him because I couldn't put him on the list yet. He's 16, hasn't done a single thing yet, has all 20 and 25 currents, and he's not super athletic. But I thought there's also, on the other side of the coin there, thought that there's a really good chance this guy could be in the top 3 as early as next year. This guy's just so ridiculous. One of the best scouting discoveries we've had in TLG history, potentially. So much, it's all the word potential, and they're that young. So if you look at this guy, it would not shock me one bit if he's a line drive hitter, which is huge. Has an 80 and 70 under contact and gap power. Crazy high avoid K. And he has 50 power and I, which is pretty good for a middle infielder. So if this guy lives up to his crazy potential or anywhere close to it, like I said, it wouldn't shock me. This guy's like number 1 or 2 on the list in a year or two here. That has like 75 contact, like 50 power. If he went up to 65 range or could play like a legit shortstop, probably a really high level second baseman. But you never know. Like all that stuff could go up 10. Who really knows? Or it could go down. Like I said, so much can change. So I didn't really want to put him on the list yet till he's proven something in the minors. Probably debut next year at 17 in the DSL or something. He's a Dominican guy, so super talented, and all this stuff's 25 already. So he's probably good enough to play in the DSL right now. But usually they wait until 17 in real life. So he's so young. He's barely 16 too, just 82 days in. So probably wait till next year. But yeah, this guy is just incredible, and just wouldn't surprise me. He's number 1 prospect in baseball in a couple of years. A guy that could probably be like a Wander Franco type freak with his crazy contact and power and ability to play middle of the infield. Could be a future superstar, but who knows? That guy's just got so many question marks. But just wanted to throw him in because he's just such a crazy ceiling. Really hard to determine a guy like that's trade value. Next up is another Met. So as you can tell from my pitcher one, I'm not biased at all. I have not included any of my own players on either of these lists, and I've already got a couple Mets and Braves here. So I tried to do it non-biasedly for sure. I wanted to throw. I don't like to rank the first base and left field type only prospects super high because a lot of times their bat falls just a little bit and they become almost useless. Super easy positions to play. So in real life, you don't see those guys super high in the rankings unless they're just crazy. Like Almanza, I want to throw at the end of this list because he's just got such an incredible bat. Probably the highest ceiling pure bat in baseball in TLG. The guy there was a couple first basemen like this at the age of 17, 18 the last couple of years, but then I know the White Sox guy, but they just lost their ratings like crazy as soon as they hit like 18, 19. So hopefully that doesn't happen with Almanza. But this guy right now looks like he has the highest ceiling bat out of all the young teenage bats. The guy has 65, 65, 75 ceilings with 60, 60 in his approach with the I and avoid K. He has pretty good base running for a first baseman that's really like not that athletic and can't really play anywhere else. 45 base running is actually pretty solid, 40 stealing, and he has really good mentals to top it all off, which is what makes me think he probably will develop. 40 infield range, pretty good for a first baseman, so you could already almost like a 50 first baseman. So he can definitely stick around a first base, play a solid defense, a decent runner, and a super elite bat. That bat's not that crazy different from like a super high level guy. Like gives you like 5 WAR season at first base, like Freddie Freeman or Christian Pena. So I just thought I'd throw him on this list because his bat was kind of too good to leave off, even though he's a first baseman. He's also a fly ball and a spray hitter, so it's the 2 best ones you can have. So they're not a heavy pull guy. So this guy just has all the makings of a superstar hitter, and who knows if for the Mets how long he'll develop. He's 18. He's already hitting pretty well in rookie. Could definitely pay A-ball next year at 19 years old, and could probably even make the jump to high A if his ratings go up anymore. Like if you get to a 30I or 35 contact, probably jump right to high A, but most likely put him in A-ball next year. We'll see what the Mets guy does. He's pretty good with development there. Really nasty, really nasty talent. So he's number 10 on the. Sorry, he's number 11 on the list, I guess, and Cazares is next. So Juan Cazares is a guy that I wasn't going to include when I first looked at him. His ceiling didn't really jump off the page of me, but until you look at how few guys there are that can play middle of the field, shortstop, center field, second base, that have any kind of a bat, that have like the 60, 65 range. His range isn't crazy good. A lot of guys that age go down to 60 range. He might turn into a corner guy or like a left fielder. It might not be a super good prospect. But he also is 65 range, could go up to 70, and then all of a sudden he could turn into like a top 10 prospect in baseball. So I thought I'd throw him on the list here just because there's no, if you sort the 19-year-old, 18-year-old center fielders in baseball, there's absolutely none that have over like 35 in any of this stuff, and this guy's just miles ahead of everybody else. There's like anyone else has 65 range and good speed and 50 like potentials has like a 30 or 25 currents in these things. So the fact that he's just like so advanced for his age makes him just so valuable. Guy looks like he could play AA right now and be in the majors as early as next year with his currents, because it's all like major league level. As soon as he gets to 50 contact, like 40 power and 65 range, that's like major league quality, like a positive WAR type player. So guy's just crushing it. Last 2 years, he had 4.1 WAR in 68 games started in rookie, and then this year in only 75 games, he has 2.5 WAR, on pace for 3. So this guy is just a WAR machine because he can do everything well. He can run pretty well. He's plays pretty good center field defense with a high range there. Has really good avoid K, really solid power. So just because does everything well. I think it wouldn't shock me if this is the type of guy, and you see a lot of green here too. Wouldn't shock me if this type of the guy that actually got better than these ceilings showed. Like if his eye went up to 50 or 55 and this went up to 60 and he turned into like a 4.5 WAR center fielder. Just really like something about his profile. So like I said, when I first looked at him, you just don't see any blue and you're like, oh, there's not a lot like 60, 65s anywhere. But closer you look, you're like, well, he's like a 5-tool player. Like he has big range, he has big speed, can steal bases, hit home runs. So just a really nice talent. We'll see how he develops. Really cool to see a guy that age, that far developed. Anyways, next up, we have Willis Ricordi. Willis Ricordi is a really interesting player. Another guy that I didn't think would be on the list when I first looked, because it's just when you have those, a home run and eye are so low, and those are two of the most valuable assets to have. But when you look closer, you're like, well, he's 19. He has the best hit tool in the game for a guy under 21. The guy has insane avoid K and contact. So he's hitting like 390 in AAA. I know it's only 5 games, but the guy can hit as a 19-year-old in AAA. He's already just so advanced. He can play second base. He's got 60 infield range and 50-50, so he's not great second baseman. 60 range is really good second base. That kind of speed should be a plus defender there. I think he's a lot better there than not really. Can't play center field with 55 range. It's not high enough. And you don't want a corner outfielder with 25 power and 25 eye, so probably could get away in the corners, but it looks like he's a long-term second baseman in my opinion. And I think he's a guy that could give you plus defense second base with like 30 stolen bases, hitting at the top of your order, hitting like 300. So that all kind of, my projection there kind of spills out into like a 4 or 5 WAR second baseman if he lives up to all that. So at 19 years old, the cool nickname Gasoline. This guy is just guy's really valuable, and a line drive hitter. So, and that's the other thing. He doesn't have any ISO with a low home run power in the eye, but he hits the ball so hard. He should have a lot of doubles, so help his ISO a little bit. He won't hit any home runs ever, and he won't walk much, but when he makes that much contact, he should, the low walk rate doesn't really matter. He should just be a guy that gets on base a ton from singles and can move on the base pass. So a guy that can probably be your leadoff hitter for a long time. Really nice talent. And again, if you sort all the guys under 21 years old, if you make a filter in the search for all TLG, there's like 3 guys over 50 contact, and he has 65. So just so far ahead of everybody else when it comes to that. So he's a really nice talent. Next up, we have Juan Viveros. Viveros is another guy. When I first looked, I saw the 25 power and the low ceilings on the contact and home run power, and was like, I probably won't have him like on the list. But then when I'm going through the list again, I realized I'm like, no, this guy is so much better than I first thought. You look at him, he has a 75 eye, and it's 50 current at 18 years old. 18. He's not even, he was the youngest guy on the list pretty much so far, other than the Sosa guy. But the guy has insane eye, so he's always obviously going to walk a lot. He's walking 12% of the time rookie ball, which is incredible for a guy that age. Most guys are like 5%. He's walking like twice as much as everybody. The guy has incredibly advanced contact tool. So he's 18 years old, 40 contact, 40 avoid. So he can essentially has the contact in the eye to already play in like high A, AA at 18 years old, just waiting on that home run power. The guy's plus defender. He's going to be a really good third baseman. He could go up to like 60 range or even like an 80 arm. Could probably even play second base there, but just incredible defensive third baseman. Should be a really plus there. Fly ball hitter. Really comes down to his power. So even if he doesn't get the power, that looks like a guy that's just so advanced with the eye and contact and gap. Should hit a ton of doubles, walk a lot, crazy on base percentage. Should be like a 3 WAR guy. But I think this guy could be the number 1 prospect in baseball with just a bit more power. If you look back, say in like a year or even a year and a half, and this guy's at like 35, 55 power, or even like 40, 55, something like that, it goes up quite a bit, or even just gets closer to that 50, like say a 40, 50 in a year or two. This guy will probably be like number 1 prospect in baseball, because third basemen are just like so much harder to be all-around players than you think. If just the guy that can play that kind of defense and just be all 50s is like essentially like a 2.5 WAR player if you look around like at the major league level. So if this guy has a couple 70s in important categories here, like eye and can play that kind of defense and even just get to the 45, 50s in those. He's like a 4.5, 5 WAR guy. So this guy, like I said, if he gets his power, this guy could be like an MVP one day. So just a crazy ceiling, and I just kind of underestimated him when I first looked at him. So I have him number 9 on the list. Next up is Marcus Delzoppo. Delzoppo is so nasty. I don't like rating a DH above a guy like that third baseman I just showed you, but I just figured Delzoppo is just so much farther along with his current power. If that guy doesn't get his power, he probably won't be as good as Delzoppo, because Delzoppo is so advanced with the hit tool and the gap power and the avoid K and the power. Looks like a pretty sure bet to be like a 3 or 4 WAR DH and a super player. Pretty good runner for DH too. A lot of DHs have like 20 and 25 speed, so can't really play defense at all, unfortunately, with 35 outfield range, and he only has 25, so he can't even really play first base. But guys just can DH for you for like a decade and be a phenomenal hitter. Probably hit like 290 with like 35 home runs a year, and that's being conservative with a ton of doubles. So super talented. So I put him a little bit above that third baseman just because I figure he's just so much more advanced. At the time, like he's already playing the majors at 19 years old. He's hitting 326 and a couple weeks up in the majors. So just this guy's incredible. One of the best hitters to develop out of TLG when it comes to pure hitting standpoint. So not a lot to talk about with him. Just pretty obvious. He's just a really good hitter and not ever really going to be a defender, but just going to be a guy that probably consistently is in the running for like Silver Sluggers, the DH there. Really nasty to have him and Alvarez right now, the best DH in baseball, pretty much teaching the best young DH in baseball. So really cool combination there. Next up, we have Josh Addington. Addington was a guy that was really hard to rank because he had 55 range of the draft, and a lot of guys like that just turn into 50 range guys and can't really play anywhere but first base. Doesn't have the arm for third base, doesn't have the range and arm for shortstop, and can't really play second unless you're like 55 or 60 defender. But his mentals were so high, so he's drafted 12th, and I was like, thought it was a little bit tough because I thought there's a pretty high probability he ended up at first base, but he went up range for my scout, at least up to 60, and it looks like he's a really legit second baseman now. So if anything, I think he was underrated. So I think in hindsight, if you knew that was going to happen, you'd probably draft him in like the top 3 or 4, because it looks like he probably ends up being the best position player from that draft. The guy has 60 contact, 60 current gap, super advanced currents at 19 years old, 40 current and 45 current avoid and contact. And he's just waiting on his power, which, like everybody, he's walking a ton, 13% of the time, so his eye's legit. Looks like he's going to be a second baseman in the mold of like a Corey Seager type infielder. He can play like second base. I know Seager's more of a shortstop, third base in real life, but he's really talented if he can play a high-level second base in TLG too. But yeah, he's if Addington can get to like 45, 50 power with that contact tool in the 60 range, with that personality and a fly ball hitter and spray ball and all that stuff, he looks like he could be one of those like 4 or 5 WAR second baseman. Just super talented. I think he's one of the best young prospects in baseball, and that's why I have him as high as I do. I think he, in my opinion, just he's really nasty. Next up, we have another Texas Ranger. So it's actually the third Texas Ranger in this list. We had 2 pitchers in the last episode, and then he also has a position player. Maradiaga is just Maradiaga is just unbelievable. He's probably going to be like an average third baseman defensively. It's decent range. The air is a little bit low, and the arm is a little bit low for third base. Can't really play anywhere else in the infield except for first with a low turn double play. So there's a good chance this guy ends up as a first baseman if he loses any more range or arm. But he can also probably stick at third and just be like an average to below average defender there. But with how good his bat is, he's looking pretty legit. So he looks like a guy that it's just going to be an absolute masher. Very rare combination to have 65, 65 and home run and I. Almost anyone that has that combination in the majors just ends up being so productive because you're taking long plate appearances and you just wait for a pitcher to make a mistake and then you're going to get your home runs. And he also has good gap power and he has pretty good contact. He's not a good base runner. He's not a great defender, not a great runner, but his bat's just so good. It doesn't matter. His bat's so talented that he should be just another guy. Like I said, with Tyler, he's very conservative with pushing guys up the minors. I know he's got a couple of leagues he's in, so he probably doesn't pay as close attention. He's really focused on another online league. So the guy's kind of a grinder, and so he probably just kind of sets the computer to do this stuff. But I think this guy's probably ready for AA, and he's about 5 levels below that. He's in the DSL, so he's not even in the GCL or Advanced Rookie yet. So he's just making a mockery of pitchers down there. He's hitting like 350, 29 home runs in 64 games. So he's probably about 4 levels below where he should be, in my opinion. But who am I to question it? Texas doesn't seem to do pretty well, so maybe he's right. But looks like he has just an unbelievable bat. This guy screams like he reminds me a lot of. I'm sorry. Drew Bianco. The Bianco is the guy on Cleveland. Really similar profile with a super high eye and home run with a solid bat. This guy's obviously a little better, but he wasn't this good when he was Maradiaga's age either. Pretty much the same defender. It's just Bianco's a little bit crazier, just crazy ceiling because he's a crazy base runner, and the eye's about 15 higher, and the power's higher, and the contact's about 10 higher than. But yeah, it's kind of the same mold where just like an average defender, but like a crazy good patient bat with big power. So that's probably his ceiling. It'd be cool if he could turn out anywhere close to that guy. This guy looks like he's another third baseman, could probably get you like 4 WAR or 5 WAR season. So really, really high ceiling here. I probably could have had him above Becerra. I just like Becerra because the contact and power were so high, and they're like two of the most important categories. The last guy there had 50 contact potential and only 65 power. So Becerra probably isn't as safe a bet to turn out, as that power has taken forever to come along. It's been 35 for a long time now. Hasn't gone to 40, and he only hit like 1 home run in A-ball in 30 games, only 1 in AA. He's been pushed really hard for his age, though. But I just question whether that power is legit. But I think I had to have him up here because I think there's a safer bet. Maradiaga probably turns into a 4 WAR player than there is for Becerra, but I think Becerra's ceiling's a lot higher, so, and his age and stuff. So I put him, and his mentals are really good too. So I put Becerra above, but it doesn't really matter. It's just my opinion, which doesn't really matter. Those guys are both obviously really, really good, and they are probably not going to be traded, so it really doesn't matter the exact ranking. But both insane third base prospects. I think Becerra might end up in the outfield too. He's a really good right fielder with 60 range, 65 arm. So he's just a guy that could probably even play a sneaky average center field, but looks like a guy that's probably just going to be a really, really, really good hitter. So advanced for his age, at 19 years old, to have 40 currents in those 2 categories. So he really is just waiting on that power and contact to get to 40, probably 45 before you debut him in the major. So probably could do a full year at AAA next year. We'll see how long he takes, but just a really, really good talent. That his ceiling is just crazy. He played third base with 60 contacts, 70 power, with high gap power, and really good running. 70 base running, 65 ceiling. Really like another one of those 5-tool players. It's just an absolute superstar. So another guy just with a crazy, crazy ceiling. So that's why I had him all the way up there. Next up is Brad Wolfe. I've actually changed my mind. I thought Wolfe would be the 1-1, but the more I looked at it, I had another guy at 1-1 in this draft. So Wolfe is actually in this coming draft. I have him as number 2 player in that draft right now after some changes. I thought it'd be the Wolf sweepstakes, but it'll actually probably be the other guy. But they're both insane. I can't go wrong with either. Brad Wolfe, really good shot to be the second or third pick at lowest. But guy is from Texas. The guy has 75 home run power. I have a very high scouting report on him with 75 and 70. So it looks like it's pretty legit, and that's for a couple of reports now over a couple of years. So it doesn't look like that's going to fall down to like 50 like it sometimes does for those draft prospects when you don't have a good report on them. So that power and contact is insane. He hit 340, which was like the best. It was better than anyone in the entire last draft out of the college guys. And he had 17 home runs, which like leads the nation pretty much. So the guy is just mashing with 33 stolen bases too. At the college level, he's one of the best college players of all time. And he's at Texas, a powerhouse baseball school. So it's really cool. That guy would just be like such a crazy superstar and so hyped up if that was a real life thing, with a 7 on his power and contact and that kind of 7 runner and a 7 range and high intelligence and adaptability. The guy would just be like the LeBron James of baseball prospects. He would just be so hyped up. Probably win the Golden Spikes as a sophomore the season he had there. So it would be really cool to see that guy in real life. And the ceiling is just so crazy. It'd be really interesting to see who gets him in the draft. I think we're going to have a draft lottery next year because we're switching to the new game. And the new game, there's the real life draft lottery. So there's actually a chance that someone other than teams with the top 2 worst records get a shot at Brad Wolfe. So just an absolute freak. I got him at number 4 on this list. No team right now, college guy. Next up, we have another division rival of mine. We have Rodolfo Delgadillo, and he is just so talented. He's pretty much the closest thing we've seen to, in my opinion, to Ronald Acuna Jr. Since we started TLG. They're both guys that just mash the baseball super hard with 70 contact, 70 gap, and big home run power, kind of like Acuna, where he has like a 70 and 60s, kind of same idea. Both crazy athletic with 70 running, plus stealing, and also has really high avoid K. So the only difference, and they're both kind of like in real life, Acuna could probably get away at center field, but more of a right fielder. Same with Del Galfino, unless he goes up to like 6'5" or 70 range, he's probably a right fielder. But like I said, his bat's so good, you wouldn't mind, like even if he wasn't minus 10 zone range center fielder, you'd get away with it with how plus the bat is, and he'd still be like a 4 or 5 WAR player. Really, 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 really high ceiling just because he's such a fantastic hitter. 19 years old, hitting 310 in high A with a ton of home runs. Crazy stolen base totals, on pace for almost 4 WAR. So just super toolsy. Like I said, it just screams Acuna to me. So probably another guy that's just going to give me terrorize me for like a decade in my division in TLG. Crazy talent, number 3 on this list. Next up, we have another guy in the next draft. So I actually jumped this guy ahead of Brad Wolfe the closer I looked at him. At first, I had Wolfe ahead, but the more I thought about it, I'm like, infielders are just so much more important than outfielders, in my opinion. It's just so much harder to find. And this guy is just so rare. There's absolutely no infielders in TLG over like a 10-year period, prospect-wise, that have this kind of combination. It's just like, the guy is a top-the-line third base, like a gold glove type third baseman. The 60 range would be like pretty much second or third highest in the league at third base, and 70 arm. He could get away at shortstop, especially if you want to like just improve a little bit. If that could go 65 and 55 or something, he'd probably be able to be like a surefire shortstop. But as of now, he's probably like a second baseman, third baseman. Probably be like one of the best second basemen in baseball with a crazy arm. But yeah, you probably want him at third base. That's pretty much the same profile as like Fernando Tatis Jr., where he's like a gold glover every single season with like, I think Tatis has like 60 and 75 or something. Just insane defensively, with high work ethic too. There's a good chance that defense goes up when you have the high work ethic. The guy isn't a great runner, but he's good enough. As a 40-speed guy, he can get away. He's not like a 20 runner or anything. The base running is a little bit questionable, but he's a fly ball hitter. But it's the offense that's just nuts. The guy has 60 contact, 60 power, 75 OK with that elite defense. Like I said, that's pretty much same as I just said with Acuna. This is probably the closest we've seen to Fernando Tatis Jr., where he just has the incredible bat, the ability to hit like 290 with like 35 home runs at third base or shortstop or second base. He can play anywhere he wants. So just play any 3 of those spots. The high work ethic, and just the incredible avoid K. So you only strike out 7% of the time. 75 avoid K, you're not going to strike out much at all. So with that kind of power and contact and that little amount of strikeouts with a pretty average eye, like 50 overall, 45 is like major league average, the guy should be just making a ton of contact, mash in the middle of your lineup, be like your 3-4 hitter, win gold gloves on defense. There's a real shot that guy, like I said, really turns into like a 6 or 7 WAR player consistently. Like that guy's ceiling is so high at third base, and that's just like if he stays at 60. There's even a shot with high work ethic and how good he is. He could go up to like 65 or 70 in some of those categories. So that guy has about as high a ceiling as I've seen in any of the drafts. Really good shot. That guy turns into an MVP candidate. So I actually think he's a little bit better than Wolfe for that reason. Just the fact that his Wolfe's a really good defensive center fielder. It's just I just kind of like it's so close with those two, but I think Baddick is actually probably a little more valuable because he's it's just so much more rare in TLG to have that elite like shortstop, second base, can play anywhere in the infield like Seager, where Wolfe is a center fielder. There's quite a bit of center fielders, like 65 range, that are all kind of like similar. But when you have that kind of guy that can win like gold gloves at third base with plus offense, it's just so rare. The guy would be such an insane prospect. Another guy that really produced in college too, had like a 310 batting average, stole like 30 bases. So just a crazy talent, and he's durable too. That's the best part, is like the high work ethic. So as talented as he is in all those categories, high work ethic, and he's durable. So I think it's almost a surefire bet. Those guys go 1 and 2 in the draft. I think some people might actually like Wolfe better, but it's so close it doesn't really matter. They're both just insane. We'll see what happens in their updated scouting reports. I have a very high report on Wolfe and only an average one on Baddick, so who knows if he's that good. But even if he was all 50s instead of 60s, he'd still probably be like first or second pick, because when you're that much of a plus defender with all 50 bats, that's still like a 3 or 4 WAR player. So just an incredible talent, and he is only number 2 on this list. So number 1. So yeah, I actually have him ahead, if you think about it, of Becerra and Delgadillo, even though he's a college guy. But he's just so advanced and looks legit. So I think his ceiling's just so high, I actually put him above those guys. Next up, I have the number 1 prospect, positional player-wise, in my opinion, is Jerry Reynoso. Jerry is just incredible. If you look at his profile, there's no weakness. He's a switch hitter that's 6'2", that he has 60. He pretty much has the same bat as guy we were just talking to. About Baddick, except the eye's better, and he has way higher currents because he's about the same age, but everything's a lot higher. He's like 20 higher eye, 5 higher contact and stuff. So way better runner. This is one of the best runners in baseball. 80 stealing, 80 base running with 70 speed. So essentially, this guy has a shot at like, this must just be Drew's wet dream, man. This guy has a real shot at like 50, 60, 70 stolen bases in a season. I think he's a second baseman because you can't really play short with 40 error. I think you're just going to get too many errors. You'll probably get like 38 errors in a season or something stupid. So at least if you put him at second base, his opportunities will go way down, his total chances. So he'll have less opportunity for errors. And I think it takes advantage of that AD turn double play. He probably stays a third baseman with plus range and such an elite arm. He'd be so good at third base too, but I think you'd be wasting that. You'd be wasting that 80, which is so rare at turn double play. At second base, he'd be like a wizard, like Javi Baez, and just turn some really fancy like double plays there. I think he'd be so fun to watch. So I think he'll make a decent amount of errors, but I think he's just so good with the range, arm, and turn double play. It doesn't matter. Still be fantastic. It'd be so incredible to watch. This guy would be one of the most exciting players of all time, just because in real life, you think about how fast he would be. The guy that can steal like 60 bases, he'd be so electric on the base pass. He'd essentially be like a Jazz Chisholm, but like 5 times better. And you think of how exciting Jazz Chisholm is in real life. He hits the ball so hard. He runs hard. He's just so much better defensively. So incredible of a runner. And the bat is insane. Like all 60s. This guy like is just at 20 years old. It's on pace for like 3.5 WAR between the minor leagues, and last year he dominated. This guy really is another guy that should be like an MVP candidate. You put him at second base, and he probably gets you 6 WAR a season. The stolen base alone probably gets you like a WAR, and then like the defense gets you a couple WAR, and then you get insane offense. It's like a 130 WRC plus. Probably like an MVP candidate right here. Should win 1 or 2 in his career, in my opinion, if he can get anywhere close to the 60 current. So just an unbelievable talent. In my opinion, number 1 position player in all of baseball. And it's not really all that close. He's quite a bit ahead of all these other guys on the list. I think it's like a pretty big tier jump. So this guy is just an unbelievable prospect in his own category. So I think I'll show you guys this template now. So this is all of them. This is all of them combined. I have the pitchers, as we did last episode, 10-1, and then I have the position players. I got like the honorable mentions, and then like 11, so I got 21 total. So down below, I combine them. So in my combined list, I actually have 2 New Orleans Voodoos, number 1 and 2, and the commissioner is pretty lucky. That's no bias. I know he's a good dude, but yeah, I'm not, like I said, not throwing any bones to anybody. That's just my total non-biased opinion. I really do think that New Orleans has the 2 best prospects in baseball that are under 21. They got the best pitcher and the best position player. Jerry is just unbelievable at second base, and Tomas looks like a superstar ace type pitcher. And then I have the 2 draft eligible guys at 3 and 5 here, and then the Ronald Acuna Jr. here in Delgadillo. So I really think, and then Jenkins is the superstar pitcher we talked about last episode, and then I got a bunch of position players, pitchers after that, and after Becerra. I got the superstar guy in the draft in 2030 Bugs, and you got a couple of those 3 Texas guys in a row. Araya serving the 2 pitchers, and then that third baseman. And then I got Addington, who I think is like a 3 or 4 WAR second baseman. And then Delzoppo, I think is a really, really good DH for a long time. And then there's a little bit of a tier drop off. So I'd say that's kind of like a top 12 is really, really talented. And then you get the DH, and then some like pitchers that are good but not quite as developed as those top guys. A little bit younger and rawer at the bottom of the list there. You get like a reliever and a guy in the draft or whatever. So. And that really good guy from Japan. So anyways, I think those, if you have one of those top 12 guys, those all look like big superstars in my opinion. Real superstars if you go up to about here. But yeah, so it's just a really, really cool group, and I hope I didn't miss anyone. And that was quite the episode lengthwise, but I had a lot of fun. So hopefully even if just a couple of you guys watch this, I much appreciated. And that's it for now.